Welcome to the Business of Being a Postgrad, where we share real stories, experiences, and insights from postgraduate students here at Durham University Business School. Each episode explores the highs, the challenges, and everything in between. Our conversations are split into three sections: life, learning, and lessons. So, whether you're considering postgraduate study, already on your journey, or simply curious about the people shaping the future of business, this podcast is your inside look. Hi, I'm John. In this episode of The Business of Being a Postgrad, I sit down with Kushalini, an MSc Management student from India. She explores how to make the most of the opportunities available during a master's degree, and she reflects on her experience as a student representative as a Director of Innovation, Experience and Strategy at Entrepreneurs Durham. First up, life, your journey, your experiences, and what made Durham feel right for you. Hi, Kushalini. Thank you for joining us today on The Business of Being a Postgrad. Can you please introduce yourself and tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Yes, sure. Thank you for having me today. I'm Kushalini Paul. I'm actually from India and from this place called Calcutta, where I'm born and brought up, ideally. I did my undergrads a bit in the city called Pune. I did psychology as my undergrads. And then around India, I have spent most of my life. I was working post that. I was working in Delhi, then Bangalore, and now I'm here in Durham for my master's.
So yeah, how did you get to make that decision that today now is the time to pursue a master's?
I think I've never really thought about getting into business when I took up this subject, because I've also been a person without having a very linear journey. I've always been on the go and figuring out life on the go. And because I did not have a linear journey, I studied with psychology, then I was working in marketing, then I was working in an engineering background startup. So it's been here and there everywhere. So I think sort of coming to Durham was expecting that stability and structure in my life and I realized that I would want to sort of scalable or find some scalability in my knowledge, which was lacking previously. And that's why I took this subject in Masters in Management. And yeah, that's how I ended up here.
And what was it about Durham University Business School that really stood out to you?
Honestly, obviously the ranking, the legacy. I've actually come across, I have a lot of people, I think, who has been in this university and who've actually had a very successful life ahead.
Yeah, that's great to hear.
And I think before this, I was actually going to Berlin,
Berlin?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because again, life sort of changed for me. The second part of 2025, I was kind of very like, okay, I want to go to Berlin. But you know what happened? It's interesting. I saw the ranking, then I saw so many people, inspiring people coming out of it. And I was like, okay, it is sort of an opportunity cost of a calmer life. And I'm glad I did make that decision.
Yeah, so are we. We're pleased to have you here. So how was that transition then to the UK?
It has been quite intense, but humbling for me, honestly.
Had you visited beforehand, or?
Yeah, I have. So my sister was already studying here in Lancaster University. So we used to travel here in London and around UK while we were growing up a lot. But I don't think I've ever imagined settling down in UK. But right now I'm here, and the transition has been quite interesting, because I come from India, and India is much more of a community base. It's more chaotic and, more noisy than a culture like UK. So I think the whole transition been quite, humbling. And, yeah.
So on that, what was your first impression of Durham then?
I was very excited. I was like, okay, wow, collegiate system. This is the whole, wearing a gown.
Yeah. Do you tell our audience which college you remember of?
Josephine Butler, which is like, thankfully, I got lucky being a gowned college. Not everybody got that opportunity. So I think I was just like looking forward to I'm going to Hogwarts. That's about it. And before coming here, I was going on seeing these reels and Instagram reels. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be interesting. But it was very rich in its culture. Durham has a legacy, which I felt really different and sort of I'm being a part of a great journey ahead.
And yeah, just to roll back to talk a little bit more about that professional experience you've come in from. Would you just tell us a little bit about what work experience you have before you joined the program? and any interest in what kind of pursued you to do the management program?
So basically, I've had work experiences when it comes to, so my background was wholly into psychology. Like, I've also practiced being a therapist. I've done a lot of internship, but I've realized that psychology as a subject, you can use it in any application. It's basically dealing with human beings, right? So I sort of transitioned to starting my career in a startup, which was India's one of electronic vehicle companies. So I think I wanted to start in like my earlier career in a startup and kind of get into the chaos of learning first skill, which is very different than joining an MNC. So most of my learning happened in a startup in India, in Bangalore. And from then I sort of, what happens in startup, you're handling a lot of things. It's project based. You're handling operations, you're handling marketing, you're handling development, everything. So while handling that, I realized that my interest and curiosity also lies in marketing. And from there, I transitioned to Leo Burnett, which is like one of the multinational companies when it comes to advertising. And then I was handling advertising for Bharti Airtel, which is like a telecom company all known all over India. So they were also the highest paying company in Leo Burnett that time. So I was handling their communication, marketing, storytelling, strategy, everything. And I wanted to also explore around that. So I've also started my own branding or marketing company. I love photography simultaneously. I was working on my own sort of digital Instagram page to where I was sort of selling minimalistic for marketing or like, minimalistic storytelling, And I'm still exploring that. I'm still figuring out how to, work on that. And while I was working, I realized that in every company, there's certain sort of knowledge and skills which is required to also to find the scalability in your knowledge. And I wanted to get that backing in business and managing in overall. And that's why I thought of like taking up this course.
Next, we'll dive into learning the academic experiences and skills that have defined your program so far. So what were your expectations coming into the program and how has that reality matched up?
Actually, I had no expectations as such, okay, because it was pretty scary because I do not come from a business background at all. My sister has done her business management program earlier, but I've come from a much more humanities-based background. So for me, it was very risky, but then I ended up coming here. And while I was, my expectations was, I was hoping it was easy. I was hoping I do not fail. I was really questioning my decisions. But when I came here, I actually felt like the academic course over here kind of pushes you to think differently. Like I think in my supply chain class, the first thing we did was like build with Lego.
Okay.
And that was very interesting.
Yeah.
Like, we had to there were different problems given to us and we have to think like an entrepreneur by building Legos.
Right.
And and I come from a very different education. India has a very different education system. So over there, it's more theoretical. It's more like giving exam passing. But over here, it's more practical based, and that was different actually, It was a lot of unlearning old ways of thinking, unlearning, but also learning new ways of thinking, and strategic thinking is the main thing. And that's what the course sort of pushes you, It's just not theory. It's very evidence-based. It's very practical based, It's also makes sure how you're going to apply outside. Like one of my favorite, obviously, is Julie Hodge's course of consultancy, because I think what matters is she uses her experiences in the course. She's bringing different lecturers, different guest speakers from different backgrounds to just also show us how we can apply, So you can come as like someone curious about the subject, but you often find out or discover what you actually want to become through these applications of your subject, which I really enjoy. But interestingly, most of my personal learning actually happened outside of the classrooms, okay? Where I've never been someone who, back in school, back in college, I've always been a very shy person. So I think taking up this course, I was like, okay, new city, new country. I'm going to take different leadership positions. So most of my learning happened outside the course, where I took up different leadership program when it comes to being the director of strategy and experience of Entrepreneurs Durham, we are a part of the Venture Lab program. So over here, I am helping a lot of ambitious, curious student entrepreneurs over there. We are always connecting them to a larger network outside the university. And over there, like be it Strand Ventures, we recently collabed with Strand Ventures, which is a student-based venture capital firm. And then recently also got Entrepreneurs First coming all the way from London to find our talent. So there's a lot of opportunities which is happening, but it is also learning from me. Mm-hmm. And I think most of the time being a master's student as well, because I think people are very undergrads, a lot of undergrads out here, mostly more than masters, right? So I find myself also competing with 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds, which is like really fun.
Yeah. I think we have around 3,000 undergraduate students in the business school, maybe around 1,000 postgraduates. So
absolutely, and it's kind of like interesting and fun, and it's energizing for me personally, and that's how I also became like the college ambassador for Durham Women in Business. So personally, outside the classroom, I have been understanding my leadership skills as well. It's also like how I put forward my thinking, my decision making, how to handle people from different culture. And it's honestly pushing myself in pushing my personal boundaries. And I still remember when I joined the course, there I think Siddharth, who is our
the
program director, right? And he used to go on sending emails about take this opportunity, take that opportunity.
Yeah.
And
I was going to ask, how were you first connected to these opportunities?
Yeah, so basically he used to just go on sending these emails, and I was already accustomed to this UK culture, and I was getting very lonely, So for me, it's very important to stay busy also. Mm-hmm. So I was like, hey, you know what? I mean, what will happen? I make a fool out of myself. Even if I do not, rejection is fine. So I sort of applied for the student representative cohort for the MSc Management course, and that was the starting actually for taking leadership positions. And I sort of got elected for the student representative thing. And I still remember we had this SVC meeting, which is like the Student Voice Committee meeting, with the program directors and the learning and teaching development. And I do not know what happens in all this, right? So they have given us a date, and I still remember they have given us a list of tasks to do. And I was like, okay, this is what I have to do. I have to get really better at public speaking, okay, if I'm going to take leadership positions. And like I said, I came for the course, but it's a lot of holistic development which is happening.
Yeah.
So I think I sat myself down, and then I sort of made this poster about, okay, I'm a student representative for MSc Management. This is my consultation hours. This is my email ID. And I did a lot of work in making that poster. And
like a vision board, but like a plan?
Yeah, it was literally a poster of marketing myself. I was so awkward. Okay? And then I went to learning and teaching development, and I emailed them. I was like, hey, can you send it across to all the students and masters that I'm doing this? Because I needed some task or some problem I have to solve before the meeting, and I was really scared to what am I going to say if I don't have any problems. So and I sort of emailed my module leaders as well that, hey, can I talk before the lectures? And they sort of allowed me. So I started also talking about the course, how we can help before all my lectures. Mm-hmm. And that was the starting. And then in my first student voice committee meeting, I sort of told Siddharth, everybody that, hey, I did this, okay. And I've actually it was actually really exciting and fun, that meeting. And then I got elected as the student, basically co-chair. So now I directly work with him in terms of improving the overall experience of a Durham student, and also given how we can improve, what sort of modules we can introduce, how to overall help in the ranking of the university.
So talking of modules, what modules are you most looking forward to? Obviously, with MSc Management, there is the International Study Tour. Are you interested? Have you applied?
Absolutely. So when I'm really excited for the second term, actually, I actually applied for the business project as well. So they have this option of it's either dissertation or business project, and a lot of universities do not actually have that option, you know. So I usually thought that, okay, I have to write a boring dissertation, but that changed in Durham, you know. I'm now looking forward to a couple of things. Yes, obviously, the study tour is the first thing which is happening, where I'm going to Barcelona, and I've never been to Barcelona.
Okay, nice.
And I've been like always wanted to explore Spain and the cities around it. And that's what, like, when I got the opportunity of like applying for it, that's what I just went for it. And that's next term, and followed by also having the opportunity to work with different companies through my business project and getting that sort of, you know, a practical application of whatever I've learned through all the modules. And that's something I'm really looking forward to next year. And I love traveling personally. So this also gives me that, you know.
The international exposure is great. So talking of the program, have you engaged with any industry speakers or attended any kind of career events or anything that have been on by the business school?
Industry speakers, I have not currently attended any of them yet, because I'm personally like also hosting a lot of events for the university myself. I have my podcast, which is called Next Up, through Entrepreneurs Durham,
plug it.
and which is like a whole the whole idea is bringing in student entrepreneurs or professors.
Okay.
I've actually reached out to my consultancy professor, Julie Hodges, to come. I spoke to Mike Childs. Have you heard about the learning? He actually works. He's actually part of the learning and teaching development. So that's what Durham gives. It's just a network, and you come across so many interesting people doing so many interesting stuff. Because Mark Child actually, he is in Durham University, but he has his own podcast with like so many followers, right? So he sort of helped me, guided me to have my own thing going on. So, but like, I would love to like actually plan on attending more events hosted by the business school.
Well, I think lots of time, still 2 terms to go. It sounds like you are making the most of all the opportunities and support.
And I think like now that I'm sitting here and talking to you, I realize that now that I'm actually getting the time to reflect, a lot of growth has happened, but it has been going so fast. I have not realized that Durham gives you that opportunity to like do so many things every day. So that's interesting. You come for the course, but you discover a new version of yourself.
Finally, we'll explore lessons, the insights you've gained, and the advice you'd like to share with future postgrads. We have talked over a few things earlier on today, but what is one thing that really does stand out to you that you've learned about yourself during your first term at Durham?
I think what I have personally learned is don't wait for the university or Durham as a place to work out for you, and use Durham as a place to shape yourself for the future. There are different opportunities. There are different chances. Go ask for those opportunities. Use discomfort as a compass. Okay. A lot of peers are not doing what you are doing. It might feel lonely. It might feel crazy. And that's the best part of it. You do not have to have it all figured out. You know, some days it's going to work out. Some days it's not going to work out. What matters is keep going. Keep asking for conversations. Keep asking for opportunities. Sorry, not conversations. But start conversations, which is required. Be bold. Ask those questions, because once you start being visible, once you start taking that responsibility, people come to you. Doors open for you. A lot of doors has opened for me over here.
And speaking of maybe when things don't always work out, what's one challenge that you've faced since you came to Durham?
I think one of the challenges was the cultural shock overall. Again, people out here likes to keep by themselves. Okay, Durham in itself is a very small city. So, but then I wouldn't say that but those challenges also shaped me into doing so many things other than what I was doing back earlier on. And so I sort of like saw my challenge of being lonely or alone or figuring out in such a different culture as an opportunity of growth.
So how did you navigate that? Was it through the college?
Yes, absolutely. Through the colleges, through always being alert in my emails. I'm always like, okay, what's happening? Through joining different societies, by being I think I've joined gliding society.
Gliding?
Yeah,
Wow.
I go to Maiden Castle a lot,
Okay.
and I'm doing like random things all the time. I'm going to practice walls. I'm going for dance society. I'm going for this, that. I'm actually trying a lot of things which I've never really felt confident trying before. And I think that's what, like, before it was sadness, loneliness, but now I'm seeing this as such a big opportunity for becoming the person I always wanted to become.
It's a great way to meet people, and not just people who are studying at the business school as well, right? There could be meetings.
I've actually also like that. I've also actually also ended up volunteering for UMIA. Which happened for the last time.
It did, yes.
And I met people around the city of all ages.
Like locals?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I literally went so I had to like educate people regarding the art, installations.
Signpost them where they need.
Yeah. So it was around the city. I've helped in like making sure like people are guided. I spoke to a lot of people actually outside the university. And I love art. Okay. And I came across so many artists throughout. So I guess that's what, like,
that's a really good that's an experience, and a great way to build your confidence. Speaking to people, as you mentioned earlier, was something you were looking to overcome. So if we go back to the beginning of the program, what's one bit of advice that you would give yourself?
Do the things which scares you the most. That's what will change you the most. You know?
And what advice would you give to an Indian student coming to Durham, or thinking about coming to Durham or the UK, moving away from home?
I think what happened to me, at least, I was romanticizing a lot, than what it has been right now. So I feel like don't romanticize it that much. Have a plan. Sometimes you expect the unexpected. I did not expect to become this person here. I thought that I'm just going to have a degree and then get a job. But I think when I came without any expectations, that's how many of my doors also open. I had a plan, but my plans have changed. So do have a plan to not feel lost, but be okay if your plan changes. Don't feel overwhelmed. Don't feel stressed out. It all works out in the end. Leaving home is hard, but that's the first step.
That's the hard part.
That's the hard part. But once you do it, you know the world is your stage. Just go grab it. And like I said, like, if you have everything, life is once, so why not make the most out of it? And your college degree or master's, yes, it's a degree, but it's also what you do about it. And Durham gives you that place.
That's great advice. And speaking of what's next, what is your career plan? Do you still plan to enter human resources industry, or to have your own startup?
So I think, like, luckily I've chosen management, and management gives you an experience across in different industry. So I've got a taste of like consultancy. I've got taste of OB, supply chain, strategy, different parts, right? But I'm also handling an Entrepreneurs Durham society. And I think in the long run, I do want to get into the startup culture, build something of my own. I'm trying to build that network around me. And again, I've never planned on doing that. But I want to get into the venture capital firm, or build something of myself at the Durham Venture School, where there is an excellent program helping young entrepreneurs. Or the best part about Durham Venture Business School is you do not have to have an established company. You have to be a curious person. You have to have an idea, or you do not have an idea, but that curiosity is needed. So I really want to apply for that if I get through and come across my co-founders or other founders and build something of myself. So it's like I said, like in my life, I've only been on the journey and figuring out on the way. And let's see what comes up next.
I think you are definitely heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
So we're just going to finish up with a quick fire round. So I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions and just looking for the first thought that kind of comes to your mind. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, you ready?
All ready.
Okay, great. So we'll jump straight in with favorite inspiring book or podcast.
Joe Rogan, maybe?
Okay. Favorite British food you've tried?
Fish and chips from Bell's.
Okay. What company would you love to work for?
Company, maybe Sequoia.
Yeah. Okay. You can say yourself too. Early mornings or late nights?
I'm actually both, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
The afternoon?
I'm a night owl and a early rooster.
Favorite lecturer?
Hojas?
Okay. What song is always on your study playlist?
Study playlist? I think I've been listening to a lot of jazz, so maybe.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, like Berlioz is one of them. Yeah.
And lastly, one word to describe your MSc Management cohort.
Life-changing.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Kushalini. Yeah, it's been great to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Don't forget to subscribe. We've got plenty more stories coming your way.